All right, welcome to another episode of the Atlas Life. Today, much like we've done in the past with our remote recruiters, I am joined by Erin Biddle, remote recruiter in St. Louis, Missouri. Erin introduced us to Angela Henry. Erin, you want to tell us how you met Angela and where that all started?
Yeah, so Angela was actually referred to Atlas. Was working with another agency previously for about 6 months trying to find something in Oregon, Washington area. Hadn't had any luck, and then reached out to us, and it was really amazing. Within a couple of hours of getting the application done and the paperwork side of things, we had her submitted and got a call, an interview, and an offer right away. So that was a really, really good experience. She's an amazing nurse, an ER nurse, living in Washington now and working and having a grand old time.
So first-time traveler then?
She's on her second contract with me, but was a first-time traveler whenever we originally got connected with each other. So.
Awesome. So then tell me a little bit about this first contract and kind of how that all took place.
She, to me, whenever she tells me that she had worked, so long to get a contract, I almost don't believe it, because she is about as laid back as it gets. So, you tell her hey, here's this. She's like, yeah, sure, whatever, here's a night's need or this is what it pays. Okay, great. Just let me know how it goes. And so I'm kind of dumbfounded that, the other agency had taken so long to find her something they really I feel like missed out on an extremely golden nugget.
Maybe it's just the recruiter there. Maybe that's just.
I know it's all her. It is all her.
All right. Well, Erin, thank you so much, and thanks for bringing Angela to us. And Angela Henry, welcome to the Atlas Life. Okay, Angela Henry is with us today on the Atlas Life. Angela, thank you for joining us today. Tell me a little bit about how you connected with Erin the first time and came to Atlas.
Sure. So it was kind of a funny story, actually. Me and my friend decided we're going to move to the West Coast. It's going to happen. And I had been in contact with a recruiter from a different company, and she was very kind of loose about it all. Yeah, sure, just start heading whatever direction. We'll figure something out.
Oh, boy.
And I had just gotten a phone call from her. Yeah, I was in Texas. I got a phone call from her, and she's like, there's nothing in Oregon, and that's where I wanted to be. She's like, so if you could start applying for new nursing licenses in other states. And I was freaking out. I was as far as Texas, running out of money, headed to Oregon, and I didn't have a job. And so I contacted my favorite travel nurse from back home, this awesome Southern girl named Sandy. And I asked her, I said, tell me real quick, what recruiter do you use? You always talk really highly of your recruiter. She never tried to push her recruiter on me. She just said I love who I work for. And so she set me up with somebody who then sent me to Erin. Atlas Med Staff, and I called him, and he was like, oh, I got 5 jobs for you in Oregon, no problem. And I was like, oh my God, thank God. He was like a godsend.
Nice. So, and then where are you now then?
Well, I'm currently sitting in Oregon, but right now my job is in Washington.
In Washington. Okay, that's what I thought, that you were up in Bremerton. Bremerton, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how is that? I mean, I guess, okay, so first off, why did you decide you wanted to move to the West Coast? And 2, how is that, being a traveler on the West Coast?
Yeah. So I decided I wanted to move to the West Coast, specifically Oregon, because I had been here once before. It was beautiful, but up until college, so when I was 21, I had never been more west than New York. I live in Vermont and had never gone more than one state over. I thought that was wild. So I had come to visit Oregon. I fell in love. I said, this place looks so much like Vermont, and I could be out here, but it'd be so far from home. It'd be a new experience. So I had heard about the opportunity to travel nurse. I thought it was a great great way to kind of expand my knowledge in nursing. And so I said, I'll go to the West Coast. Why not? And I've had great experiences out here. I mean, like, I don't think you could have found a better first travel assignment than the one I had in Oregon. And then now I'm in Washington. I absolutely love that too. I'm about a month into this assignment. It's beautiful. The people there are so nice, and I don't know, everybody's so accepting. I love the West Coast.
Awesome. So you're from Vermont, or you're from Vermont originally, is that right? So has it, I mean, you said it's very similar. Give me some differences then between Vermont and Oregon, Washington area.
Well, like as far as nursing goes, like the difference, I work as an ER travel nurse, and so you see similarities everywhere, and then you see differences too as far as like what the doctors want to do, what their kind of algorithm is for certain things. In Vermont, I was working at like a level 1 trauma center that covered a large area, and then out here I've gotten experience in smaller ERs, or like maybe not quite, some of them are like level 2 trauma centers or level 4. And I think all of it is just great experience, just seeing like, you know, how does one hospital, you know, work through a trauma system versus like another hospital. It's great experience to see it in all the different facets.
Was that hard to get used to at first, or did that come pretty naturally?
That was my biggest fear coming into it, because like ER, you know, so like quick, like you need to be ready to do whatever, and a lot of it is, you know, you have to have trust with your teammates and your doctors, and so I was really concerned that maybe like I wouldn't fit in, or, you know, I wouldn't feel comfortable approaching doctors about questions, but it hasn't been that way at all. It's been, everybody is so kind and welcoming, and they're like, here, like, I'll stay with you. I'll make sure that you get through this situation just fine. And yeah, it's been great.
Nice. Well, I mean, in the end, they just need the help, right? I mean, that's why you're there.
Totally.
That makes sense. So then tell me, in you know, the amount of time you've been a travel nurse now, what's the best part? And then what's like the worst part?
So I think the best part is like meeting new people, having new experiences, you know, and being able to see new places. I think like the fact that I get paid to go somewhere I've never been before and get out there and see like everything about that area is so cool. Yeah. Like everybody is like, oh, I wish I could travel for my job. But then I think the worst, and I don't think it's like necessarily the worst, but like being new in every situation is kind of hard. You have to, like I said, you have to develop that trust with the doctors, and you have to learn all the door codes, and you have to figure out where CT scan is, and you know, all that. So that is hard, but it's not bad.
Sure. Yeah. So now Erin tells me you have a travel companion.
I do.
Yeah. Tell me about your travel companion.
He is a fluffy golden doodle, like 70 pounds, but really tall. And he goes everywhere with me.
Yeah.
His name is Wiley.
Does he like traveling? Does he mind it?
I think he seemed to be totally fine in the car traveling from Vermont to Oregon. And, you know, he's loving all the different hikes we're checking out here. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Is he there with you right now? We love dogs here, and that's the only reason why I ask. Is we have dogs in our office all the time. In the new office we're moving to, we intentionally did part of the floors in like polished concrete, so then we could have more dogs in the office. Like it's an important part to us.
Yeah, if you want, I can grab him.
Is he there? That'd be great.
All right, stand by.
Okay. Oh my gosh, you're right. What's his name? Wiley?
Wiley, yep.
Wiley. How old is he?
He's 2.
Oh, and he's 70 pounds? Oh my gosh.
Huge. And he'll just sit like this the whole time, like he's totally cool.
Look, he's just leaning in on you. Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Like I'm being interviewed right now. Ask me a question.
Yes. That's one thing. I mean, we joke about it because we have a Cats of Atlas thing that we do every week. But dogs are, I mean, out of all the travel companions, I mean, most of them are dogs anyway. So.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He's a good travel pup.
He looks so chill. That is fantastic.
Yeah, he's chill.
Awesome. Well, that's awesome. Thank you. That was cool. Look, he just loves you. That's fantastic. So, Erin told me you just went to Mexico. How was that?
Yeah. Well, that's the other cool part about the West Coast is like I've done a lot of. Come on, get out of here.
No, he's in the interview for good now.
Oh, he totally is. He's like, let me come back and sit. I've done a lot of international travel, but like from the East Coast, it's easy to get to Europe. From the West Coast, I was curious what I'd be able to see. Mm-hmm. And it seems like Mexico and Indonesia and stuff like that, much closer over here, which would be cool to see.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you traveled up to like Alaska at all? Have you tried that?
No, but I'd love to. And like from where I am in Washington, there's like a ferry boat ride up to Canada, which everybody talks about. And there's all kinds of things to see around here, honestly.
That was, I believe, so we had went to Alaska, I believe it was last year. And that was, our layover was there in I think it was in Oregon. That's right. It was in Oregon.
Oh, so, yeah.
And then it was a super easy flight. It was maybe 2.5 hours from there up to Anchorage.
Yeah. I'd love to see Alaska. Maybe I'll take a travel assignment in Alaska.
There you go. There you go. Do it during the summer though, when it's not quite so cold.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So last question, and this might be the hardest out of all of them. Since nursing school through all of this travel career, everything, like what's the one thing that's taken you the longest to learn?
I think the thing that's taken me the longest to learn, I guess, or something that I feel better about now would be that as far as the ER goes, like you're not always the enemy. Like the nurse often will be the one who kind of catches flack for a lot of things, especially in the ER. You know, you catch flack for like wait times, for not giving them realistic expectations, for, you know, not doing something the way someone else would want it to be done. And when you're a patient in the ER, you're so vulnerable. And I realized that being a nurse is, you know, being that patient's like biggest advocate. And so I think over time, what I've taken away from it is I can make people's experience better in the ER.
Awesome. Would you, and I know I've asked ER nurses this question, a lot of ER nurses this question, would you consider anything else? I mean, ER nurses are a completely different breed. Would you do ICU or anything like that?
I would. I think ICU is kind of cherry picking all my favorite patients from the ER. But I like that the ER is kind of like in and out. And then I like, you know, I wouldn't mind seeing the follow through in ICU, but it would be hard to give up the ER for sure.
I wonder about that sometimes, and this is another conversation I've had with ER nurses, like once you're done and you move on to the next one, right? And you don't get that follow-up to find out what happens. I mean, how does that work for you?
I would say that in some cases, ER nurses bond with the ICU nurses, and we know that, you know, we're connected in our care. So I usually follow up. I like to know, you know, how my patient's doing, how it ended up. I feel, you know, just as much pain for that family when I find out later that the patient died than if they died, you know, right in the ER.
Sure. Yeah. So, well, Angela, thank you so much. Erin spoke so very highly of you especially when I started asking for volunteers for this. And the first thing, it was one of the first emails he sent was, she needs to do this. Like, you need to talk to her. So I'm so glad we got connected here. And then I got to meet Wiley too. That's fantastic.
Most excited.
So look, he looks very excited.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on the Atlas Life with us today, and we'll see you both on the road.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Bye.